Hey, I'm on the edge of my seat here, back again with another brand new video. And today I will be no damaging all the boss fights in God of War 2. Not the new one, not God of War Ragnarok, but God of War 2. And the strategy for this fight is basically spam lightning, and whenever he throws a big hand at us, whenever he throws enemies, we can just kind of dodge them. But whenever he's about to kind of slam us with the big golden hand, boom, and then we just lightning that to pretty much iframe through the whole thing. Appreciate the iframes now because we're not going to have them later when all your magic attacks get changed in slight ways. You're still going to have access to electricity, but you're not going to have access to this electricity where you get to be all cool and T-pose in the air. It's going to be a little less useful. The lightning you get later on is still insanely useful and it does a ton of damage, but the one thing with it is that you can't abuse the iframes nearly as hard as you can with this attack. But it is still an incredibly useful attack. In fact, by the end of the game, I will fully upgrade my lightning powers. So another thing I want to mention is that for the first part of this giant bronze fight, the Colossus, he has a more descriptive name, but I only really know him as the Colossus. I kind of forgot who he actually is supposed to be, but yeah, the Colossus. So for the first fight of this giant bronze Colossus fight, the checkpoint starts at a weird section. So in order to fight him, I had to start a new game and watch all the intro cutscenes again and again and again. I will say this, I did not do this entire Colossus fight in one take because it is kind of separated into three big fights. We kind of have the first big fight here. I mean, honestly, this is probably one of the shorter fights, probably the shortest fight out of the big three. Right now, I just transitioned to the second fight because the checkpoint pretty much starts around there. So yeah, I did this basically in three parts. So if you're wondering why the timecode only lists the Colossus as one fight, it's just easier that way. It'd be kind of redundant to kind of say Colossus 1, Colossus 2, Colossus 3 when it's still the same guy. He's just kind of separated throughout the level, you know, in between each fight you kind of have to beat up enemies, traverse, all that. God of War 2 starts off with a bang, it starts off, you're fully God of War, you have these golden blades, they look awesome, you have this amazing armor, you have all the upgrades from the previous game, and the game will sadly take away everything from you and pretty much make you incredibly weak after this fight. But you know what? Banger OP. This is just the rendering on this guy is amazing. He's an incredibly massive enemy, just the shine on his armor. This is a 2007 PS2 game. This is a PS2 game that came out when the PS3 came out, and it's still impressive. It's still really, really impressive. Though one thing is that with a game of such scale, I think they actually compressed a lot of the sound effects and music during combat just because they have to save space somehow in order to afford everything else that happens in this game. I really should talk strategy, but honestly I'm kind of lost because this is a video I started working on in February of this year, and I've only just recently finished it. And the reason for that is there's a lot of reasons for that, and I'll get into those at some point, but hopefully what I'm doing on screen is self-explanatory enough. You don't want to spam lightning too much. Hey, I do use lightning very, very liberally throughout this fight because it's a great way to avoid iframes. There's specific attacks he does, that one I always use the lightning to avoid it. But for other ones, I prefer the dodge, block, kind of keep your combos short because you can't get too elaborate with this guy. In fact, the combo you really want to do is just spamming triangle. Spamming triangle, basically, you kind of do a little... It kind of speeds up the heavy attack, which you always want to land on this guy. Because the thing with the Blades of Chaos is that landing the light attacks is not that useful. Honestly, in order to beat up boss fights as quickly as possible, it's about how many heavy attacks you can land as quickly as possible, which honestly isn't the most stylish way to do it. But for some boss fights, they don't even let you be stylish. So, at least, I didn't go too hard on being stylish. For being stylish, just increases the difficulty by an insane amount. So yeah, that's the second part of the fight done, and now we have the third section of the Colossus fight. So hopefully I remember exactly what strategies I used to fight this phase of the fight, because I remember my first couple playthroughs, this phase always confused me, or rather confused me how I was supposed to approach it in the first place. However, in the process of no damaging it, it wasn't too hard, but okay, let's see what I have to do first. I think I have to kind of wait for him to do a certain attack with his trails or something, because the big thing I want to do, okay, so what I want to do is whenever he stomps his hand on the ground, I just kind of do those attacks there. In fact, I think I'm baiting him to do this stomping attack. I think if I stand near the sword, he just always does the stomping attack, which means I can always just kind of jump up and do this. I'm pretty sure I took this strategy from somewhere. There are YouTube videos on this game. Though, if you type in God of War 2, like, all bosses no damaged, I think you'll find which video I'm, like, referring to. Oh, yeah, no, basically what you want to do is you want to ignore the fist on the first phase. Because, in the first phase, you can pretty much, like, stun him like that, you know, by pretty much doing that. Oh, wait, you might actually have to ignore the fist in the second phase here as well. So pretty much, like, damage him with, like, combos in the first phase. Second phase, you can, like, kind of spam lightning. I'm assuming that's going to stun him. And every time he gets stunned, you pretty much put in all your power into this blade, which means you're going to lose all your cool upgrades. And then in the third phase, you can actually throw the fist. I'm assuming that's how it's going to go. Yeah, because in this phase, you get rid of your magic, so you might as well waste all your magic now. So, you know, kind of bait him out, then use the fist. The fist is going to stun him, and then once he's stunned with the fist, boom, you can go to the blade. Pretty much put in all your magic, all your health into it, pretty much get blocked like that. I am very glad that I'm actually releasing this video now because, like, it's been a long time coming. You know, I started, like, streaming this game in February. I took breaks because the process of streaming the game was super annoying. And then, like, I would stop to pretty much focus on other projects I'm more interested in. So basically, once we have the blade, we can block every single attack this guy does. So he's pretty much a non-threat in this phase. So yeah, no, just kind of boom, boom, boom. I won't be doing the level inside of him because I just think it'll kind of waste a lot of time in this video. But I will just kind of be doing this little phase here. You can kind of just get a little crazy with it, do some of those like block attacks where you kind of block and hold the light button, the light attack button, you know, to get a little crazy with it. Whoa. We're keeping the combo going. Oh, no, we're not actually. We're not keeping the combo going. I love the blue fire effect whenever he like kind of heals himself and just like the glowing eyes and all that. It's a fantastic effect. I love it a lot. So here, that does not happen in the game. That is a transition I added in just to kind of keep things going, keep things smooth. But yeah, no, that was the Colossus fight. Great spectacle for the beginning of the game. Love it.
Do you need more proof than this?
This is the worst fight in the game by far. Like, after no damaging every single boss fight in God of War 2, this is still the worst one, and it is the second fight in the game. Like, I dropped God of War 2 no damaging for like 4 to 5 months precisely because of this fight. This fight is fucking shit. Like, holy shit, it makes me so mad. In fact, in order to no damage this fight, I think it actually took me like 4 to 5 days of constantly trying it over and over and over. Like, not only is it like a very difficult fight to no damage, it's also an incredibly lame fight. Like, the combination of this just kind of pisses me off to like a level which God of War has not pissed me off before. Because like God of War 2 overall is probably the second hardest like game to no damage the boss fights in of the 3 I've played. God of War 1, God of War 2, God of War 3. Surprisingly, God of War 1 is probably the easiest to no damage the boss fights in because there's only 3 boss fights. So, you know, compared to these later games, which have like 8 or 9 boss fights, you know, there's just a lot more difficult stuff. And also, some of the boss fights in God of War 3 had me there for like, you know, 2 to 3 days, just constantly trying to no damage them due to their length and like scale. But the thing is that in God of War 3, the fight is really difficult. It's also really cool. Like, once I'm done with that fight, it's like, holy shit, I just did like the coolest thing imaginable. But this fight, like, I no damaged it and I felt fucking nothing. I was like, wow, that fight was a piece of shit. I'm so glad it's done. And like, the worst part is the first phase isn't even all that bad. But speaking of this first phase, for Theseus Smegma balls here, basically you want to avoid the upper right corner of the room because it's just terrible for this first phase. Like, the camera sucks there, and also I'm not really a fan of like the upper middle section either, which I'm kind of in right now because sometimes like he'll bounce off a wall when I like kind of launch him with my whole combo strat. Something I like to do. Okay, I don't know when I do it, but I like to like do these launch attacks where once I launch him, I can like pretty much block, press the circle button to do like a whole combo. I think I do it whenever I do this, or no, not exactly. There's just a specific attack. I think he already did it, and I already kind of showed off what I'm explaining. I just want this to happen again because it's really important that I explain it. I don't know. Come on. Oh, I think whenever he does this, I launch him. Yep. Boom. Launch. Block. Press circle, just kind of to add a little bit more style and flair to this fight. Though one of the most frustrating things about, well, honestly, when I say one of the most frustrating things, it's nowhere near as frustrating as the entire second phase. But in this first phase, something which kind of annoys me is I don't really like how Theseus Smegma Ball's like health works in this first phase. Like, it's really inconsistent because sometimes like I don't hit him that much and he transitions into being the biggest cunt alive like he did right now. Oh, yeah, also, something I also really like to do in this fight is I like to pretty much like just kind of pretty much bide my time, kind of shoot the arrows in this corner here. Also, when it comes to shooting these arrows, you need to shoot this with a precise timing, because if you like spam these arrows as fast as possible, he kind of gets like, he kind of stops being stunned and instead just like starts shooting the balls at you. When he starts shooting the balls at you and there's like no minotaurs on screen, just kind of go to this little corner and he'll just, they will never hit you. There was this previous strategy I attempted where like I had this precise timing to like dodge every single ball he throws at you, but what's the point in doing all that when really you can just go into that corner and he never hits you? So yeah, when they first spawn, try to launch them and, you know, do the little grab there. And then after doing that, basically the strategy for this entire fight is pretty much try to launch them with like your final light attack and just keep doing that, kind of maintain some space, because if you remain too close to them, it could really fuck you up. But yeah, to return to my point about his health bar, like Smegma Ball's health bar, it just kind of feels like, what's the point in optimizing my combos in like that first phase to land as much hits as possible when really it just does not feel consistent when he moves to the second phase? So, you know, it's just kind of like, you might as well just hit him with whatever. Like, you really shouldn't have a plan, because your plan won't always consistently work to transition him in like a certain time period. At least from what I know. I mean, I haven't tried speedrunning the game or anything. Also, just to elaborate on the whole camera angle thing when I'm trying to like shoot him with arrows in like the bottom right corner of the screen, I'm not sure if I'm going to try right now. I mean, hey, I did just kill 2 minotaurs, though I don't think I'm going to have enough time to shoot everything I want. Oh wait, maybe I am. Ooh. Oh no, is that like right now you shoot him a bunch and he'll do rah! You know, he'll get a little bit mad and then nothing changes about this fight for like the rest of the 10 minutes it lasts. It's like fucking, the first phase is like a normal fight, and then the second phase is just him being a dickhead up there. You know, Smegma on his balls, just shooting projectiles at you while like basic Minotaur enemies just keep spawning in over and over and over. Like, you know, 5, 6, or potentially 7 waves of this shit, you know, for fucking 10 minutes at a time. He just fucking stands up there like a little bitch, you know. Isn't this supposed to be a cool guy in Greek mythology, Theseus? I don't know too much about him, but like, you know, he has a cool weapon. The first phase kind of sets him up coolly, and then you just kind of get to this section and he's a complete bitch. Like, the most aggravating bitch in the game by far. I mean, hey, there are other bitches in this game in terms of boss fights, but this is still the most aggravating one. Like, I'll get to the other bitch, you know, when we get there, but like, holy fuck this guy. Like, fuck this fight. But yeah, no, the Minotaurs deserve some blame too, because I hate the one move they do where they pretty much like shove you off if you hit their block too much. Like, it's just a weird ass move. Basically, you want to land light attacks on these guys, but if they start blocking your attack, dodge away or just block immediately, because like pretty much if you hit their block too much, they can kind of shove you away, and the shoving animation of shoving you away from their block does damage you. I mean, you can parry it, you can dodge it, but it's not consistent, so the best thing is just to avoid the situation altogether. So yeah, no, just very annoying enemies, especially when the guy upstairs just keeps shooting projectiles. You kind of need to like keep an eye and also your ears open whenever he's going to start shooting you. Is the camera angle going to switch to a more cinematic view? Nope, it's going to be stuck there. So yeah, no, basically whenever you kind of go into that corner and start shooting him, if you stand still like near that corner, the camera will either shift downstairs to kind of give you a cool view of like, you know, just the arena, kind of cinematic. Not very useful, but you know, very cinematic, or it will kind of give you the view it gave me right there, which gives you a wider view of the arena, you know, for gameplay purposes, but it doesn't look as cool. It is inconsistent whether the cool camera angle happens or not, but you know, it is something I always try to do, and I'm not sure if I even done it in this fight. So yeah, no, I guess that's enough complaining about the Smegma Balls fight. It's very straightforward why this fight is a piece of shit. Like, I mean, it's basically, you get what you see what you get, and it fucking sucks. So let me talk about some other things which really frustrated me with like no damaging this game, like issues which kind of stopped me from just kind of, which made me drop this game multiple times just throughout the entire year, just like multiple months at a time. Like, basically, my streaming, yeah, look at that. Like, you can block the blocks, you can block the shoving attack sometimes, but not always, so it's not consistent. So yeah, no, I recorded this game with HDMI splitter, an Elgato like HD60 Plus S. I'm not sure if it has the S, but yeah, it is like the Elgato HD60 Plus X, and my MacBook. And later on, a third or fourth secret device got introduced, but I'll talk about that later once I'm fully done explaining why my MacBook fucking sucks. So there just kind of came a point where I'm trying to record footage. This also happened to me with God of War 1, and it was worse. It was more annoying to deal with God of War 2, where basically I'll be trying to record like footage of the game or try to stream the game, and for some reason during the recording process, like the Elgato will just start dropping frames. You know, like the program will start running really slow. Footage which I wanted to run at 60 FPS will start running at like 10 FPS. And it was miserable. And it's like, hey, why don't you just lower the quality of the footage? And you know what? I did do that during the streams, and it didn't work anyways. Like, if I could like lower the quality of the stream to like iPhone, like, you know, 240p, and it would still run like shit. You know, just because like the Elgato or the MacBook was like tired as hell, like they're old, like they just don't know how to run right. Like I don't know what the fuck is wrong with my MacBook, but it hates like recording Elgato games, and it's just so inconsistent because like sometimes I'll be recording and it's like, hey, it actually is running at like 60 FPS, 1080p, super cool. And that's another thing, like to record these no damage videos, I need to have them at the highest quality possible. Like I did not buy an Elgato to record them at like fucking 720p, 30 FPS at like good level. I need that to be at the best level, 1080p, 60 FPS, because that is what I'm paying for. That is what I bought an HDMI splitter for. And it's just like the confusion of the recording, like where the issues were coming from, was also like a massive, massive annoyance point. Like, is the HDMI splitter causing like the shit fucking performance? Is my Elgato causing the shit fucking performance? Are my wires causing the shit fucking performance? Is my MacBook causing the shit fucking performance? Well, I'm gonna tell you right now that during the recording of this Theseus fight, of this Theseus Magma Balls fight, and during the recording of the Barbarian King fight, and during the recording of basically every single fight except for the Last Spartan warrior and the Kraken fight, I never figured out the real issue. But the issue was my MacBook. It's not powerful. It's like a laptop. I mean, it's powerful for like MacBook standards, but for gaming stuff and like for recording footage, it wants to kill itself if I use it for too long. Like it starts to get too hot, and it starts dropping frames because like it literally can't run the fucking program. Like, you know, Google Chrome starts to run slowly. Because the solution I found, which kind of worked for me when recording the Last Spartan King and the Kraken fight, and just every single fight after those fights, is instead of like plugging in my Elgato, like recording my Elgato footage through my MacBook, I decided to use my Steam Deck. I actually have a Steam Deck, so instead of putting all that pressure on my MacBook, I'm just gonna put all the pressure on my Steam Deck, and my Steam Deck was much, much better about like handling all that stress. Mind you, I did also have to use like a Steam Deck dock, pretty much something which allows you to connect it to like other monitors and TVs, because I needed to upscale OBS to like, I needed to be able to record OBS footage at like 1080p. So, and I can't do that normally with the Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck is only allowed to record at like 1280 by 800, unless you use a Steam Dock, which allows you to upscale to 1080p. And that is the death of Theseus Magma Balls. Fuck you, no one will miss you when you're dead. I fucking hate this fight so much. I'd like to get away from all the negativity of the previous part, because this is a boss fight that I actually really like. In fact, the only real big negative thing I have to say about this fight is just this first phase. Fighting this horse isn't all that fun. I don't know, it just kind of has a few attacks that are really annoying to deal with. For one, when you're kind of fighting the horse here, like the attack he does with the hammer, that's easy to block, but sometimes if you're like too in front of the horse, like the horse will like headbutt you or something, and I think that's like an attack you can't block. Or maybe it's like the horse's hooves have like a weird hitbox that kind of mess you up. Also, not a big fan of him shooting arrows at you, because I swear there's like no telegraph for it. God of War 1 has a lot of enemies that just do not telegraph attacks. This is not an enemy though, it's a boss fight, and like that arrow attack just comes by way too quickly. Like, I don't really like it at all. However, I am very happy with my performance here. That was like the quickest way to take down the horse. And now it's time for Phase 2, and what I like about Phase 2 is that it's really easy. There really isn't much to this phase aside from just blocking and grabbing, because dealing damage to the boss fight is not the point of this phase. The point of this phase is just to like kill every single enemy this dude summons, and you can just insta-kill the enemies by grabbing them. So pretty much you grab, you block his attack, you immediately grab an enemy if it's like in your range, block his attack, grab the enemy. You know, also watch out that the enemy attacks don't land on you, but like every time you finish like an insta-kill, the boss fight's probably going to do an attack, whether it's close range or, you know, close range, or like, I keep repeating myself, it's either ranged or close range. And he's going to do this about 3 to 4 times, and that pretty much rounds out the phase. You know, not too bad. Sometimes these guys, like the blue guys, will actually grab you, but when they grab you, it doesn't deal damage. It just kind of puts you in a grab state. So there was a couple other things I wanted to mention. Kind of have them on the outline here. So there is an option to make the screen full frame. So once I learned about it, I started to do it. Because usually I wouldn't do that. I would just kind of zoom into the footage in Premiere. Hey, this is the guy from the first game. He just gets to get tortured again. And what's fun is that when you insta-kill this guy, it does like the same animation when you insta-kill him like in the first... Nope. Well, there's a chance that like the same animation will play out like in the first game. So, yeah, no, but I don't have to zoom into the footage when pretty much editing now because I just do full frame. And with full frame, when recording with the Elgato, it's just full frame. Pretty much self-explanatory. So here I am abusing a mechanic unique to God of War 2, I believe, and it is just iframe. So whenever you draw the bow, there's like a second where you're just completely invulnerable. And this is kind of true for like basically every magic power in the game. It's just that with lightning, you can't just hold the lightning. When you press the lightning button, the lightning comes out. So there's a bit of iframes there. I think the same thing is true with the Medusa head. The rocks, you just always do the rock action, and like while you're doing the rock action, you're always completely invulnerable, so it doesn't really count. So the bow is really great when you don't want to use magic, but you still want to like be invulnerable to certain attacks. And I'm sure for the other fights there's ways to incorporate it, but I'm going to be honest with you, this is probably the only fight where I incorporated like the iframes with the bow, because in every single other fight, I tend to make more use of like my blocks and my dodges instead of this really silly mechanic here. Because like the thing about like that third phase is that you can't really land good attacks on this guy and also block or dodge him, because you can't block his attacks, and dodging while like, you know, he's like too big, so you can't dodge here. So now for this guy, the only thing you really need to worry about for this phase, the only thing you need to really worry about is whenever he like summons his spirits at you, because what you need to do is you need to dodge like perfectly like parallel to this guy, because if you like dodge and like your dodge is a little bit crooked, like the things are just gonna like circle around and pretty much hit you. So it has to be like a completely straight line away from the guy, completely straight line dodging back into the guy, and now the fight is over. It's like, this fight was hard for me to no damage. You know, it took me like, you know, a couple hours, but no more than a day, but it was fun. Like, you know, it was challenging in a way which I like. You know, I have to like learn these like different phases. These different phases have like different nuances to it. Very nice. It's not like a bullshit fucking like enemy wave like masquerading as a boss fight. You know, it's like an actual boss fight you have to learn. You know, it's like, I like it. I like it very much. Very nice theme. I'm glad I got to fight this guy, which like tortured Kratos in the previous game. And then from here on out, like, this series of boss fights are kind of like the, you know, they're there. Honestly, they're more like mini-bosses than anything else, but they're not all that challenging. I mean, like, hey, this guy did give me a decent challenge, but, you know, nothing that took me longer than, like, a day. In fact, I'm pretty sure I did this guy, the Medusa sister coming up, and Perseus pretty much all in the span of, like, a day or so. Because, you know, they weren't really all that big of a deal. So compare that to the amount of time I spent trying to no damage Theseus Smegma Balls, which took me about 4 days, and you can see why this section of the game is comparatively pleasant. There's some nuances to this fight. Like, you can block this attack. Whenever he does the fire thing, you can block this attack. I'm just wondering if there were any attacks you can't block. But as of this moment, from what I remember of this fight, basically the challenge with this guy is that he's really fast. He's like super duper fast. Okay, there's one attack that you can't block. It's like the mega fireball. So you pretty much just kind of dodge away from them. And while he's shooting the mega fireballs at you, you pretty much just kind of like do some light attacks away from him just to kind of build up the big heavy attack just to land on him like that. But every single other attack is blockable. Just the only issue is, you know, don't get stuck in a bad situation when you can't block. You know, like don't do a heavy attack at the wrong time when he's just doing his normal attacks. Land the heavy attack whenever he's doing these fireballs here. Very nice way to just kind of incorporate that there. And that's pretty much the whole fight from what I remember. Not sure if any variables get introduced that make things more complicated. Like, this guy is nowhere near as hard as like another dog enemy that appears in the game, which can summon more dogs. And like, this game likes to put those dogs in situations where there's always going to be like 5 dogs and also like 4 other enemies at the same time. Like, you know, God of War 2, like when I say that this is the second easiest game to no damage, the second hardest game to no damage out of the 3 I've played, I'm only referring to the boss fights. I'm not really talking about the difficulty of just the entire game, because God of War 1 might still be one of the hardest. Though to be fair, God of War 3 is still really hard on its hardest difficulty, so I'm not even sure. I might be capping there as well. Just like God of War 1 is more difficult in the sense that like some enemy telegraphs are like nowhere near as like, some enemies just straight up don't have telegraphs, while in God of War 3 they actually do have telegraphs. But even with like refined enemy telegraphs, God of War 3 is still a bitch to fucking like, you know, beat on the hardest difficulty. And this game is no slouch either. And now like there is a growing kind of like a sentiment that God of War 2 is better than the third game, and I'm not sure if I fully agree with it, but I can kind of see the positives of God of War 2. For one, I really like the iframe system. And I guess two, its selection of boss fights, while not perfect, is a little bit more consistent than God of War 3's, but I think God of War 3 has much higher peaks than this game. Mind you, like, this game does have some peak boss fights every now and then. I really like the Barbarian King, but it just doesn't compare to, like, you know, Poseidon, Hades, Zeus. But see, that's kind of the thing, Kronos. But Kronos is more of a level than anything, but still really hype. But that's kind of the thing, like, you know, God of War 3 has like those 3 to 4 boss fights, and everything else is like nothing. While with this game, the Colossus is pretty cool. Theseus sucks fucking dick. The Barbarian King is awesome. This guy's alright, you know, like, I mean, and then after the Barbarian King, we kind of have a couple fights which are like, you know, alright. You know, this guy's alright. The Medusa sister is coming up, also pretty alright. Perseus, honestly, a bit of an annoying bitch. I don't like him. Like, the arena is cool. Like, I guess the gimmick is, like, neat conceptually, but holy fuck, he is not fun to fight. But I guess I'll get to that when we get to that. The thing about these fights is that they're decently short compared to what's come before. You know, just kind of like, you know, 2 to 3 to 4 minutes, and we pretty much wrap up. So yeah, so like she can be a little bit annoying because she has some like really erratic patterns, and like I don't know how to elaborate on that, but just let me simmer on that for a bit. So I believe that in this first phase you can block everything she throws at you. However, there's like one thing where you have to parry her attack or else you will get hit by it. So okay, you actually can't block everything she throws at you, but you can like block the first hit of everything she throws at you. It's just that, like, you know, for some of these attacks, if you don't like parry that first hit, then you won't be able to survive the second hit, because what you want to do is there's like a 2-hit attack she does, where once you parry the first hit, the invulnerability frames, like the iframes from the parry you do, will pretty much like safeguard you against the second attack she does in like the little combo, the second hit of her combo. But yeah, no, besides that, yeah, it's pretty much like this one, you know, like you parry the first hit so that you pretty much survive the second hit, and that's pretty much how the first phase of this fight goes. However, there comes a point where she starts crawling towards these pillars, and here things get a little bit more silly. Here I'm trying to use the hammer, and mind you, at this point in time, I did not know of just how useful the hammer was going to be for me. Like, yeah, I'm using it right now, you know, and it does help, but like, holy moly, like, I don't realize how useful the hammer is until like the Last Spartan fight. Like, it's really useful there, it's really useful for certain sections of the Kraken, it's pretty much useful for the rest of the game, except for the final boss, because spoilers, I'll talk about that later. So yeah, the way I'm trying to do this is, I'm playing it a little bit safe, just kind of landing some heavy strikes with the hammer, just trying to get away from there whenever she does the ray attack, because like, there's a certain corner you can stand where when she does the ray attack, it doesn't damage you, it only freezes you. I do not know what that corner is. In fact, I'm actually like pretty much playing it by luck. I'm just kind of standing there sometimes, hoping for the best of like, whatever she's shooting down there doesn't like hit me, because like sometimes it does hit me and I don't really know what causes it. And, you know, sometimes she'll, like, swipe her tail, but the good thing about doing these, like, heavy strikes is that you can pretty much just block the tail swipes whenever they happen. You can't block the explosion thing that happens with, like, her red beam attack. It's really weird to explain. It's like whenever that happens, like, sometimes the explosion hits you and, like, damages you, and sometimes it doesn't. But another useful property of the hammer, which I might as well spoil right now, is that basically these heavy attacks deal a ton of damage. However, when you're doing like these 2 heavy strikes, so that's pretty much like the entire combo, you know, just like triangle, triangle, you can block at any point during that attack. It's super useful for like just dealing a ton of damage and also parrying the enemies whenever they're parryable. And also, you'll notice that I have not used any of my magic so far because I'm saving all of it for the final phase, because the final phase, she gets a new attack which is pretty much unblockable and also just covers a ton of ground. You have to like constantly dodge it, and it's super annoying and irritating, especially with how quickly she can like slither around. She can like slither around and then suddenly start doing the boom boom attack. You know, it's terrifying. It's a terrifying attack. So like pretty much wasting lightning at any other point in the fight is basically pointless, given that you actually have ways to deal with her like at that point, while here like dealing with her boom boom attack is just like way more stressful than it has any right to be. And then the fight has ended, and also this video might get demonetized, but honestly, like, The no commentary version of this video didn't get demonetized, so I mean, despite all the graphic content in in God of War 2, but hey, you know, it is an old ass game. It's PS2, so hey, what's so graphic about a game with the processing power of a toaster? You know, let's just roll with that, despite the fact that this is the PS3 HD remaster of the PS2 game, not the original PS2 game. I mean, they're the same game, it's just that this one runs at 1080p, and if the PS2 tried to run this at 1080p, it would like die.
That door was my only escape. I have faced test after test in search of the sisters.
There's a lot to talk about with Perseus, but before I do, I'd like to mention that you can actually make the flight controls normal instead of inverted. There's like this one kind of gimmicky flight section where you're flying with a horse, and normally the controls are inverted, but you can actually go into the menu and uninvert them. So you know, if you do like having non-inverted controls, that is an option. Not sure if that was an option in the original game, but it is an option in the PS3 HD remaster. Also, let's talk about Rage of the Titans mode, because it's a mode which I don't really use that much, and I'll explain more on that later, but you can pretty much turn it on and off whenever, and also during, like pretty much you can turn off the Rage of the Titans mode at any point, and also during like QTE cinematics. So when you press circle above an enemy and kind of go into a big elaborate animation, but if you went into that animation as in like the Rage of the Titans mode, you can turn it off while the animation is playing out, and you know, you're waiting for your QTE prompts. I think that's awesome, because being stuck in that state while doing one of those like forced cinematics honestly would just kind of feel like the game is kind of like cheating in a sense. So yeah, no, this fight, holy moly, this fight is incredibly annoying. It didn't take me more than a day, I think it took me like 4 hours or so, but it's just irritating, because first, you have this phase where he's completely invisible and you can't really do much. Like, he has this thing which he always likes to do where he just kind of like rushes you for really, yeah, he does like a big splash and he's just, like whenever he does the big splash, he either like teleports somewhere or he starts just chasing you. You can kind of see like a little thing chasing you. And also, like, you just can't combo on the guy because you can't see any of his attacks. So, you know, you can kind of land a few hits, but he might do a little, like, sword slash and you won't see it coming. So what I'm trying to do is just kind of build some distance, you know, do 1, 2, you know, like here, for example, I kind of like, boop, boop. Or, you know, I like to land, like, a 1, 2, like, heavy attack on him whenever applicable, but sometimes you'll just do that. And there, I like to dodge, 1, dodge, 1. But if I get in a situation where I have to, like, constantly dodge, then I just kind of do that. So, like, I'm being a little bit incoherent in the way I'm describing it, but it's like, this fight is just really annoying. Honestly, like the Theseus fight, what you see is what you get. So if fighting this guy looks annoying to you, it's because it is. It's really annoying to fight this guy. The worst part of this phase, though, is that pretty much the way you exit it, you pretty much have to, like, pretty much drop this guy's health bar down to the point where, you know, like, he turns visible and there's like a circle prompt over his head. However, like, that little piece of, like, yeah, he only appears like that for like 3 to 4 seconds. If you do not get him in that time period, he just goes invisible again. You pretty much have to, like, redo the entire first phase all over again. It's incredibly infuriating. I do not know why they did this, because, like, if you just randomly attack him instead of grab him in like that split like 1 to 2 seconds, he'll just back off, and it's just like incredibly infuriating. And here we have this phase, which is also annoying on its own, right? Because like most of his attacks come out really slow, but like every now and then he'll just throw out a really quick attack that, like, out of nowhere. So, like, you know, trying to play this guy fairly, you know, like, ooh, maybe I'll parry some of his attacks, it just doesn't work out, because there kind of comes a point where he'll just throw out one of his really fast fucking attacks and just look at that shit, look how quickly that came out. It's like, they barely have a telegrapher. Sometimes he'll do like a rolling attack that just kind of comes out. It's like he'll do the same attacks, but like sometimes he'll do them really slowly, and other times he'll just do them quick as fuck, and it's just like, holy shit, you know, just like given how annoying the first phase is, this phase being also annoying for its own reasons just kind of irritates me. And then we get to this phase, which ideally this phase, like, you know, you should not get hit, because all he has is his shield. So like the only attacks he has at his disposal is to make, like, you know, to kind of do a flashbang where, you know, like, or like the slingshot attacks where he throws green rocks at you, no, green balls at you, you know, the little Kiwami energy attacks. And there's a thing you can do where, like, if you just like overwhelm this guy with attacks while he's blocking near a wall, he'll like kind of splat against the wall, giving you time to like actually land some decent hits on him. Something I like to do is that whenever he does the flashbang attack, and like, you know, you're kind of put in a situation where you have to like spam something to kind of like be unstunned. Instead of doing that, I just activate the Rage of the Titans, because that pretty much just gets you kicked. That pretty much kicks you out of the stun state immediately. I also did this in the second phase. So yeah, that's the Perseus fight. Basically, extremely annoying first phase. Less annoying, but still very annoying second phase, just because of like the inconsistency and like his attack speeds and all that. And then we kind of have this third phase where the guy's just waiting to die. And technically there is kind of a fourth phase where he just decides to kind of like hunker up near that wall over there. He's doing it right now. And this, you know, he's got, the only thing he has at his disposal is pretty much same thing as the third phase, you know, kind of throws green balls at you. He flashbangs you, and that's all there is to it. Except, okay, the one thing is, previously, like in the third phase, I would parry his attacks, but here I decide not to, just because like the parry timing is like way different from like his second phase. And the fight is over. Very annoying, not as annoying as Theseus, nothing can be, but it's over, and I'm glad it is.
Let the rage of the Titans fuel your blades, Kratos.
While I'm not a big fan of the Perseus fight, the ending to the fight is super satisfying. Just a really well choreographed like little death sequence there. And here is a Rock Titan. Now, this is a recurring, I mean, he honestly has a much better name than Rock Titan, I think. I call him like the Lava Titan or something in the description or whatnot. Or like Lava Rock, because he basically is just like a lava rock. But this is a recurring mini-boss. He's shown up before, but I decided to only include this version because this is the version of the fight that feels like the most complete. Like, this is like the most boss fight version of this mini-boss. You know, like it has like different phases and all that. Well, all the other versions just were not all that complicated. It was all very straightforward. I mean, hey, this fight is also pretty straightforward. I mean, I'm battling in a pretty straightforward manner. Just kind of like hit him a few times, build up my heavy attack to land there, and I pretty much just kind of keep it going like that. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And then there's going to be a phase later on which kind of switches things up, and you have to kind of adapt for the timing. But while I'm here, I like to mention some important YouTubers, because basically the other YouTubers I've seen which have done no damages at the boss fights in this game, most of them do not include the Rock Titan here. So yeah, pretty much there kind of comes a point where we reach this phase, we kind of go up here, and the timing for dodging these rocks is very strange. Basically, you have to like press the dodge button like right when he's about to throw it, not when he's throwing it, because if you dodge it like when it's already thrown, like you won't be able to dodge far enough to like avoid the area of effect damage. So just very, very weird timing. It's kind of like when he like already like tenses up the most, that's when you dodge left or right. And also be sure to have a lot of space left or right, and just, you know, it's kind of like you need to make sure he's locked into a certain location and he's not just going to automatically throw it to you when you're like dodging away. So yeah, that's this phase of the fight. And I forget, am I going to use lightning here or not? Because I do have a lot of magic. I mean, honestly, I probably should. Oh, wait, I guess I am going to spam a bunch of lightning. Well, not too much lightning, because this guy does have a lot of attacks that, but, you know, gets 2 lightning balls, and that pretty much gives me enough time to escape and just kind of do some heavy attacks. And this fight's probably going to be over very soon. So yeah, no, I gotta shout out the YouTuber Extreme Gameplays, probably one of the most stylish God of War players of all time. Just frankly, probably the most stylish. Like, I have not seen anyone else like play God of War quite like him. I can't say if a specific video that helped me with my God of War 2 no damages, but some of his strategies for some of the harder sections of the game helped me with like my walkthrough when I was like kind of doing my whole walkthrough of the game. Because like this game does have some very difficult sections, and some of the strategies he employed definitely informed me. It helped me like realize just how important the hammer is for dealing damage. And hey, the little rock dude is done and over with. You know, not too much going on, but cool arena, very lava, and the best version of this mini boss. So, you know, I wanted to mention him. And I also have to mention War of Games India. But before I talk about him, this fight. So pretty much I started in Rage of the Titans, and see, the annoying thing about Rage of the Titans is that if you use Rage of the Titans and the Blades of Chaos, I think that's what they're called. They're like, I forgot what they're called actually. Just like the things which create the most iconic weapon of God of War. pretty much you can't block while you're in Rage of the Titans mode and using that weapon. But you know what you can block with? If you're in Rage of the Titans mode and using the hammer, you can block with that. But pretty much this guy is a very simple fight. He only really has like the 1-2 attack, you know, like 1-2 sword slash. So pretty much you can like block that, jump over him, like pretty much like try to bait out an attack, jump over him so that he's like attacking in the wrong direction, and then land the 1-2 with the hammer. If the first hit of the heavy attack, of the hammer like stuns him, then hit him with the second attack. If it doesn't stun him, just kind of block for an instant parry, throw some lightning attacks in there, and now
Zeus! Is this how you face me, coward? I am through doing the bidding of the gods. Come down here and face me now, Zeus!
So yeah, no, War of Games Indian should be mentioned because whenever I searched up God of War 2 all bosses no damage, his videos were like the first ones to pop up, and I kind of noticed that like he only has these videos in like single segments, you know, like he only has a video on the Kraken. He doesn't have a video where he like combines all of them into like one big video like I'm doing right now. So yeah, no, this fight honestly kind of annoyed me because I thought it was going to be a really easy fight, kind of like a Lego styled like puzzle boss, but you can still fuck it up because I still fucked it up. What I like to do here is I like to like force this boss fight to do the big stabby attack there before flying up here, because once I fly up here, you know, kind of like I guess lowers the probability of him doing the big stabby attack in the middle because he already did the big stabby attack on the left side. So I kind of like to do that. So for the beginning, you know, kind of go up to the tentacle, go into Rage of the Titans, spamming with the hammer, and you see I kind of fucked up my path throughout the game because like all the no damage videos I see of this section, they're fully upgraded. Like their blades are like at level 5, they have full health, full magic. I don't, and frankly by the end of this game I don't have level 5 blades. Like I fucked up. I did not collect enough red orbs, didn't get enough secret chests or something, but like I really screwed the pooch there because like I really love the way the blades look when you have them fully upgraded and they're just like this vibrant red, and that just never happens in this video, and I am so sad to report that. So then we get to this phase and I decided to just kind of spam some lightning, but I'm pretty sure that like I'm not going to use up all my lightning in this phase because I'm going to be saving some of it for the final section, because in the final section of this fight you can kind of spam lightning and make it incredibly easy. But yeah, no, there's just like I don't really know what to say on like how to approach this guy. Oh yeah, no, here's one thing. So in this second phase, once you pretty much put this dude down, like the tentacle right there is like pretty much unusable. So what you want to do is that every time you fly up here, you have to go all the way to the left side of this dude's head, and you can pretty much avoid every single stabbing attack that other tentacle does. Not a luxury you have in the first phase, but in the first phase, you know, if you just kind of bait out the tentacle attack first, then most of the time you'll avoid the wrath of the tentacle and all that. So yeah, no, we're just gonna keep doing this, and because I only have my blades at level 3, this does take longer than it normally would if you actually fully upgrade yourself. And here I decided to kind of add some variety. I did a little like block and circle attack instead of block and like, you know, light and like, you know, square attack and all that, if that makes sense to you. I mean, I assume you're familiar with like PlayStation control prompts. By the way, I did not play this with a PS3 controller, despite the fact that this is pretty much recorded from the PS3. I'm actually playing this with a PS5 controller. Not only am I playing it with a PS5 controller, I'm actually playing it with the limited edition LeBron controller, which it's a very ugly controller. However, it was on sale for like $40, and believe me, that is the cheapest a PS5 controller is ever going to cost. So I bought it because I'm always in need of more PS5 controllers. Also, another thing that really sucks about having level 3 like blades is that like these sections where you have to like cut the rock off like take twice as long, and for this second one you have to like really rush to destroy that rock, because if you don't destroy it in time, boom, you have to do the entire second phase over again. So you know, do not dilly-dally. So here he's gonna start off the final phase just by doing this kind of attack where he just kind of rambles around. So if you stay in the middle, most of the time this guy will just kind of shoot these green balls at you, so just kind of spam lightning, block the green balls. For the most part you should be able to block most of the green balls. Not sure if there's any exceptions to that, and now the fight's over. I like to bring up a story which I've mentioned before, but it's very relevant to this video, that God of War 2 is one of the mature games which I first saw as like a child and I wanted to play and own. Pretty much like the first two big mature games which I had these thoughts about were pretty much like the House of the Dead like 2 and 3 like port on the Nintendo Wii or like remaster or whatever that was, and God of War 2. The reason is that my neighbor owned House of the Dead 2 and 3 on the Nintendo Wii, and I really liked that game. And for God of War 2, I saw my cousin play it at like midnight when I wasn't supposed to, and the game looked awesome. Like pretty much, I had the self-awareness to know that I wasn't old enough to play the games, but that later down in the future, I would really love to own and play them. And later down in the future, I did own and like pretty much play them. I own House of the Dead 2 and 3 on the Nintendo Wii, but now I've kind of done a little thing here where I've no damaged God of War 2. So hey, maybe I'll send this video to my cousin at some point. I don't know, I haven't really talked to them in a long while, besides when I was 10, so... And I'll see how that turns out, but you know, just kind of a neat thing to reflect on, like this full circle, you know, it's like poetry, it rhymes. And here we're about to battle the sisters of please do not demonetize my video, okay, please. I mean, it's not so much that the video is going to get demonetized, more that the ads are going to get limited due to the graphic content and all that, and nudity and all. This fight is going to start off with a bang, and by a bang, I of course mean cheese. I'm going to cheese the hell out of this first phase. Basically, I have like a loop that pretty much works for the entire fight. And yes, the hammer is going to come in handy. And I guess for, I forgot what the word is, but I'm just going to let you know that my hammer is leveled up to like level 2. And my voice just kind of cracked a little there. It is the morning when I'm recording this like commentary. I got some coffee with me. But basically, when you activate Rage of the Titans, I believe that your weapons pretty much like are upgraded to like their max level counterparts. So like when I hit the enemy with my hammer with Rage of the Titans, I'm pretty much dealing like max level damage. Same thing with the Blades of Chaos, and are they even called the Blades of Chaos? I think they are. I mean Chaos is very important to God of War 3, the next game. But yeah, no, the whole loop is that pretty much you can stop time in this fight, but since she's like the ruler of time and all that and can control time because she's like a sister of the fate. No, sister of fate. She's not of a fate, she is the fate. She basically just kind of like reacts to you stopping time every time and just kind of throws an energy ball at you. But the thing is, you can like immediately parry it every time you stop time and pretty much just knock her down. And yeah, like there are points where, you know, you'll shoot her and she'll like parry it back at you, so you just parry it back at her until she falls on the ground. And then we kind of reach this point in like the second or third phase of this first phase fight, like this point where she kind of like gets stunned there. Whenever she does that, just freeze time again, just kind of to put her back in the loop, because if you don't do that, she's gonna start flying upstairs and try to do some fancy stuff. And basically, if you just do this, the only time she'll fly upstairs is when she's like one hit away from pretty much dying and all that. And also for transparency was the word. That's the word I wanted to say. I will say that I don't do the 3 sections of the Sisters of Fates fight, the Sister of the Fates fight in like one go. See, like right now she flew up in the air because she's pretty much one hit away from going to her whole little QTE and whatnot. But yeah, no. I did this section, and then the next section I reloaded the checkpoint to do it, and the reason is because the second phase of this fight drives me insane. Like this first phase I thought was kind of hard at first, especially since if you don't cheese it like this. Like, you know, there's a lot of moves you gotta watch out for, you gotta get used to her parry timings, you have to like make advantage of the arena, just kind of hang around. But you know, if you kind of abuse her like this, then you know, no issues there. And now since I'm here, let me mention another YouTuber. I don't know how to pronounce it, but like Jolie Legal. Jolie Legal does a bunch of speedruns for God of War, and I watched his God of War 2 speedrun for pretty much like tips and tricks on how to like pretty much beat some of these boss fights or no damage them. Because I mean, speedrunners don't necessarily operate to no damage, but some of the really fast strategies could be applied in a no damage like strategy. And honestly, for the final boss and this particular boss, it really helped me a lot. But yeah, no. Just for transparency, I didn't do like the previous fight and this fight and the next fight in one go. I kind of did them like, you know, one, and then for this one I reloaded a checkpoint, and then for the next one also reloaded a checkpoint. But like, holy shit, this second phase, there's just so much to talk about. But once again, just like inconsistent like health bars just kind of drives me nuts, or just like inconsistent behavior. Because like pretty much the only way to defeat this second Sister of Fate is that through like a contextual like button prompt. You pretty much like can only defeat her when she's close to the sword, and you knock her down close to the sword so that she can fall over. You can press circle. So any damage you deal when she's like flying away, you can't kill her. Like you can get her to like a point where once she gets close to the sword, you know, like one more hit will kill her. but it never kills her. And also, I just swear, like, parrying these balls is inconsistent, because what I usually do is, you know, I parry the first one, and like, by the time the second one, like, shows up, I'll just hold the block button again in order to parry the second one immediately, and that works most of the time. But every now and then, for some insane reason, like, the ball just explodes on me anyways, and I die. Also, throughout my playthroughs, I encountered a glitch where, for some reason, even if I successfully parry the 2 balls back at her, like, a secret third ball will just randomly explode on me and just ruin my entire run. So, you know, basically what I'm trying to do here is just use the hammer anytime she, like, pulls up to, like, destroy me. And yeah, I'm really sad I was not able to fully upgrade my magic bar. That probably would have made this fight leagues easier. But what I do here is anytime she throws, like, a green ball at me, I just kind of shoot the electricity, because one electricity thing, my electricity is maxed out, thankfully, will kind of keep the enemies at bay while I go through my little parry animation and all that. And whenever she gets close to the sword, I pretty much just kind of get a little close to her and then shoot 2 lightning balls to kind of keep the enemies at bay, but not, like, shoot lightning to damage her, because it's just weird. The hammer doesn't make her always go away. Like, sometimes you can deal a ton of damage with the hammer and she doesn't fly away. But if you shoot too much lightning at her, she flies away. See, I'm trying to use Rage of the Titans, trying to land a bunch of hits, and it's just like, what's inconsistent is that sometimes she'll just kind of fly away like that. Sometimes she takes, like, a bunch of hits, you know, like, she lets me hit her, like, 8 times. Which is insanity, and it's just like, I don't know what causes it. It's just like random AI behavior. It's like a little bit of RNG, and it infuriates me. So, you know, it's just like a kind of annoying setup. You know, you have these enemies trying to take you down. You have this boss fight, which, you know, you're trying to land some hits on, and sometimes she'll just leave after you land 1 or no hits. So, you know, it's just like, what the hell? And also with collision damage, because, like, one way you can deal with this fight is that you can kind of throw an enemy at her, and that immediately stuns her. She flies away immediately. But the strategy, like, I do with that, it takes like 5 or 6 or 7 rounds of me throwing an enemy at her for her to go down, instead of this, you know, 2 to 3 rounds with the hammer. And it could have been quicker too if she just let me hit her more in the first phase. I've had like attempts where I got to like the second round, though in those attempts I took damage, so they didn't count. But yeah, no, now she's down for the count, and we're going to reach the final phase of the fight. I will say that, like, this is awesome though. Like, I mean, the fight is annoying to no damage, and by itself, you know, it's like a little bit of a annoying-ish fight, but not really all that bad. Like, the setting is so cool. Like, it's a great setup, and also it's like a great callback to the first game, because the first game also had like a second phase, which was like, you know, you had to like defend something. And this one, thankfully, is nowhere near as infuriating as the one from God of War 1, because in the one in God of War 1, it was like a hostage mission, while here, the only hostage is the sword, and the sword has a lot more health than your wife and kids. Hey, who could have imagined? And now we're going to reach the final phase of the Sisters of Fate fight, and like the music in this fight, like, holy shit. So like, every time you like open up this game, like, you hear this amazing music in the menu, and now you reach the boss fight, which finally has that music. Like, I don't know, it just feels so climactic. Like, I really love the setting of this fight. Like, this fight is awesome. Like, I mean, it is a little bit challenging. The second phase might be a little bit iffy, but like, this is dope. So pretty much what I'm doing here is I'm going to waste all my electricity on pretty much downing the Sister of Fate there, just so I can take down this Sister of Fate. And here, there's a faster way to put her down than doing all these attacks, but these attacks look cool, so I just do them anyway, because hey, I'm stopping time, I have like infinite time, so whatever. For breaking the mirror though, I definitely recommend using the hammer. It is the quickest way to pretty much put it down. Just boom, one heavy attack, because like the Sister of Fate here is going to pretty much come down super quickly. They have different names, I don't know them though. So now that I've wasted all my magic, we're just going to go for a more normal 1v1. And I'm going to get really lucky. You know, I'm going to use Rage of the Titans to kind of slow things down. I'm going to use my time-stopping powers. That was an incredibly quick phase 2. Like, that is incredibly quick. It doesn't always go down that easy. Because once you reach phase 3, I also have an approach to that fight, which makes it kind of, like, piss easy as well. Okay, not piss easy by any means. You know, it took a bit of practice, a lot of memorization, a lot of, you know, just kind of strategizing, planning out to get everything down. But basically, this is the phase where she pretty much tries to get near the mirror, like, all the way down in the room. And once she does that, she's going to start throwing these like beams at you, and thankfully this is not Kingdom Hearts 2, because these beams are really easy to dodge. So I'm just going to go straight up to her, and yeah, she's going to summon the beams, just kind of walk away, and then, you know, I activate Rage of the Titans, but like 2 hammer hits will be down. So yeah, just kind of hit her with a hammer, parry anything she does to you, and then boom, it's over. It's incredibly quick stuff. Some other really important things about the Sisters of Fates when trying to no damage them is that sometimes you'll like stop time and like the younger Sister of Fate won't react at all, and that's because she's in the middle of doing like an aerial attack. Like she'll fly up in the air, she won't shoot a projectile at you, like. So that's kind of like the telltale sign that she's about to do an attack that's completely uninterruptible. And I have no idea how YouTube looked at this and thought, yeah, we're not going to limit the ads. Look at this fucking monstrosity. Thing is, another game actually took this design and made it worse, if you can believe it. It made it like more horrifying and grotesque. That game is Dragon Age Origins with the Brood Mothers. It's like, hey, what if we took this blue thing and made it red? If you want to know what's up with that, play Dragon Age Origins. I haven't played it. I just saw a countdown video that kind of told me about how disgusting those creatures are. So yeah, typically the game kind of wants you to climb something to destroy those things, but you can just kind of just jump up and electricity them, and then they'll die. And here I'm like trying to move it, but I kind of like glitched the game out a bit, or I'm just kind of glitching myself out, but I am able to move it eventually. This is basically just kind of a puzzle boss, honestly. Not too dissimilar to like a Lego game. You know, I keep mentioning the Lego game like design philosophy, even though I haven't really played any Lego games all that recently, so I don't know what they'd be doing these days. I heard that like new Lego Star Wars game has a more intricate combat system, and you can do some sick juggles or whatnot. I'll play it someday. So yeah, no, pretty much you have to stun both of her arms, because when you're flipping this switch here, she can like use both of her arms to kind of stop you. So if you take down one arm but not the other arm is going to try to take you down. And especially when you get here, when you have to like turn this big thing up, she's going to use like both of her arms to take you down. So you got to stun both arms. And here I got really lucky that like the final thing I have to do, I did it like right. And there was like a slight glitch or something, like a little visual effect, kind of like I think a little gnome went across the screen or something. But yeah, boom, stabbed. And I really like this one thing here. Hey, check this out.
Let the rage of the Titans fuel your blades, Kraken.
Yeah, Gaia's timing could have not been better on that. Like, that was perfect timing. Like, yeah, I'm mad. I'm trying to kill here. You know, I have the rage of the Titans. Also, I don't think I mentioned it before, so I believe this video will be released on December 8th, and December 8th is my birthday. It's my birthday today. I will be turning 23, which means I am old enough to play God of War 2, though the first time I played God of War 2, I was definitely younger than the intended age. Just kind of reminds me of this one time I went to buy GTA 5 when I was like 13. But the guy kind of kept talking about how many drugs and prostitutes and illegal activities are in the game, dissuading my dad from like not buying it. So instead I picked up Red Dead Redemption, and the guy didn't say shit about Red Dead Redemption. It's like the bro was not briefed on the stuff in Red Dead Redemption, because it pretty much has all the same shit. However, I'm happy about that because Red Dead Redemption was awesome. I have not played, or I have not beaten GTA 5. I mean, I played it at friends' houses, and I'm familiar with most of the game, but like I just never beat it myself. I actually borrowed GTA 4 from like a friend, and I never beat that game either. I got like what 20 hours into that, and like I got to like the third apartment, and then I just kind of stopped playing it, got a little bit bored. But I do kind of want to return to that game. But the thing about returning to that game is that apparently the PC version is like incredibly scuffed. So hunting down an original console copy is probably still the best way to go about it, because it has all the original lighting and setup. It just runs at like 20 frames and it runs really bad. But you know what? Maybe I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic, but I also kind of want to play GTA 5. I hope the PC port of GTA 5 is less scuffed, but you know, with Rockstar Games, I mean, you never know. I mean, I hear you have to like use the Epic launcher to like play GTA 5. And hey, I'm talking about a bunch of games which are not God of War. So yeah, no, let's return to God of War here. Zeus! He's going to become really big, and this is going to be the easiest part of the fight. However, I also have to be transparent that I won't be doing this phase and the next phase in one go, because it annoys me. Because pretty much if you want to do this phase and the next phase in one go, you have to watch this entire cutscene over and over and over again. And like, I'm sorry, this is the HD remaster on PS3. This is not the original Kingdom Hearts on PS2. I'm not watching this cutscene over and over and over again just for that, especially since this phase is basically a gimmick. All you have to do is pretty much just kind of like use your electricity against the sirens, and whenever you use it, just kind of hit them, because you don't need to spam them with electricity. Just kind of throw one out, throw a couple lightning attacks out, and whenever Zeus like slams his fist down, just kind of jump up and you will avoid the damage. So boom, jump, electricity, and we pretty much have our entire setup here. Just kind of like you pretty much use 3 sirens to take him down, and maybe like 1 electricity thing, and that pretty much puts him down. I'm actually not 100% sure about this. Like, is he automatically going to go down after I do that? Or is it the electricity that puts him down? But whatever, he's down. We're going to stab his big hand to make him a small hand. From God Hand to smaller God Hand. And God Hand is a game I really need to play. Like, it looks awesome, but I just want an original PS2 copy because I actually have a PS2 that can play it. And I also have a good way to pretty much record the PS2, so I'll be doing that. So yeah, no, that little transition is because I reloaded the checkpoint here, because this is basically the real fight. This is the entire fight. Because the previous section was more just kind of like a little warm-up. This is what you're actually going to be dealing with. So my strategy here is I'm going to block the lightning bolt. I'm going to hit him like at one time before he like does that, and when he's like far away, I'm going to shoot him with like my laser beam, because the laser beam attack is actually what deals the most damage. Because hitting him with light attacks, this phase is going to take forever. So, you know, like, whenever he's, like, kind of far away, you know, like, sometimes I'll miss the laser beam, sometimes I'll mistime it, and, like, he'll do something, and he'll just hit me, like, when I'm still doing the laser beam. Because the one thing about the laser beam attack is that you can't dodge or block out of it. And that's another thing about this weapon, is that it kind of blows if you want to deal full combos. Basically, your first 4 hits, you can dodge and block out of them at any point, but once you do the 5th hit, you're stuck in this animation that pretty much has way too much commitment. So just, you know, you have to actually be very particular about your button presses. You know, don't button mash, because if you button mash, you'll just kind of be stuck in front of Zeus while he charges up his super mega punch. And another thing you have to watch out for is that whenever you land this parry, whenever he does like a lightning bolt, he's like typically 9 out of 10 times going to do this big punch. So, you know, you can land like a hit or two on him, but then you have to immediately dodge out of the way. Now this punch you can actually parry, though at that point I missed my parry time and it just blocked it. But the punch he does whenever you parry his lightning bolt attack there, that is something you do not want to mess with. You always have to dodge it. However, he doesn't always do that punch. It's kind of like what he has to do all the time, but he doesn't do it all the time. Sometimes he'll just do another lightning bolt, he'll do another attack just kind of randomly, like 1 out of 10 times. So just, you know, keep your reaction steady, you know, keep that in mind. Like, one strategy I like to do beforehand is I would do a lightning bolt after like this section. You know, I would do that, I would dodge, and then I would do a lightning bolt, because pretty much the lightning bolt just gives you more safety in doing the laser beam attack. You know, like, it would keep him still for like at least 2 hits of the laser beam attack, like always. But, you know, I decided to save my electricity for this second phase just to make it easier. Basically, I'm going to spam electricity and then land heavy attacks with my blades, and that's pretty much how it's going to go down. But yeah, no, I'm glad that I adapted my strategy just because I can use my electricity for more useful things, because I don't really need it in that first phase. I can still do a bunch of laser beam attacks to kind of get through this quickly. But yeah, no, this phase is a little bit easier. It's just that you can't block most of his attacks, and they have very wide swipes. Like, okay, most of his attacks are really slow except for like one. There's like one attack he does where he just immediately swipes at you, so you can't get too close to him. And then, like, whenever you take him down, those attacks, like those little quick swipes at the end of the fight when he has like no health for this phase, like, that can also hit you. It hit me a few times, and it was kind of frustrating. But yeah, no, now that I've, like, you know, actually fought Zeus in God of War 2, I'd probably say that his boss fight in God of War 3 is better just because, like, there's more going on. Like, this fight is less frustrating than the one in God of War 3. It's just, like, the God of War 3 one, the only thing I don't like about it is that it's so fucking hard. Like, I mean, hey, watch my God of War 3 video for, you know, my opinion on that. I mean, I basically cheesed the final phase of, like, Zeus in, like, God of War 3. But it is, like, epic. It's basically, like, he has the same moveset as in here, but he has more moves, and he can, like, make clones of himself, like, some crazy-ass shit. But this is still awesome. Like, the setting, the rain, and also you have to, like, actually learn this dude's movements. You're using, like, 2 weapons. You actually have to use the, like, the blade of Olympus. You know, it's just great stuff here. Also, another thing I like to do is that when he does, like, the 1, 2, 3 punch, the one you can actually parry, yeah, like this one, boom, I parry that, boom, and then I do 1 laser beam attack because I'm actually allowed to. Basically, like, the way you do the laser beam attack is you block and press the heavy attack button. That's pretty much how you do it. So, you know, whenever I, like, dodge his, like, super fast, like, punch, I try to, like, set myself up to shoot these laser beams. And whenever he gets stunned, you know, do another one. But if he doesn't get stunned, you know, immediately get the fuck out of dodge, because he might be throwing another, like, lightning bolt, so be prepared to parry that or something like that. And also that attack, basically, if you're really far away from him, the first hit won't hit you, but the second hit, you have to jump over it. I mean, you can also just dodge it, like, you know, horizontally or whatever, but jumping over it is cooler. So, you know, just kind of watch out for that. So, yeah, you really have to get used to parrying that lightning bolt and also parrying his big punches. Though the big, like, 1, 2, 3 punch, you could dodge it, but since you can parry it and then also land a heavy, like, you know, beam attack, why not do that? So, yeah, no, now we're reaching this final phase here, and, like, pretty much, if you get really, really aggressive here, you can kind of, like, boom, destroy him like this. If you get really aggressive, you can just destroy him immediately. It's like he has no health or whatnot. And at this point in the game, I have level 4 blades, which is such a shame. I wish I had level 3 blades so that they could be, like, really red and crimson-y. And yeah, this is the final QT of the fight, which means the video is basically over. I don't think I talked about God of War 2, like, enough. I mean, honestly, I have more appreciation for the game. And also just watching a lot of other people, the way they know damage this game, I've gotten more appreciation for like the style. Like Extreme Gameplays has done some really great stuff. Just watch his like bullying Zeus or bullying the Sisters of Fate video. It's some really awesome like gameplay. It's not no damage from him, but like it's so cool that I can just like overlook it. And here he's going to become really big, and here I just kind of wonder, how did Zeus even lose if he can just become big and shoot lightning? I mean, Kratos like tricks him. Kratos keeps talking about like how he's cowardice and all that, but like, you know, Kratos kind of falls to like the same tricks. But hey, you know, he wants to kill Zeus, whatever works. So, but yeah, no, thank you so much for watching my God of War 2 no damage video, and I will see you all then for my next video. The next God of War game I plan on no damaging is probably the 2018 game, which hey, it actually has the same director as this game. The first God of War had a director, and this game has a different director. And then God of War 3, from my knowledge, I'm not sure who the director was for that game. I think it was the guy from the first game as well. And then Ascension came out, and I don't know what's going on with that game. I'll do that game someday, but I hear it's really annoying to play. Like, it has some annoying encounters. But yeah, no, I'll play the 2018 game someday, but not soon. I'll be focusing on some other games in the meantime. But yeah, no, once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all then for the next game, for the next no damage.
You cannot do this, Kratos!
You dare stand against me, Athena?
I do not wish to fight you, Kratos, but I will defend Olympus!
Know this, my son. You have started a war you cannot possibly win. The fates have already deemed me victorious.
No, Kratos! Stop!
Athena! No! Why do you sacrifice yourself?
To save Olympus.
I do not seek to destroy Olympus, only Zeus.
Zeus is Olympus.
He brought this to himself.
Because of fear, Kratos. A fear felt by his father, Kronos. A fear that wrought the Great War. A fear that drove Zeus to kill you. His own son.
His son?
Just as Zeus was compelled to destroy his father, Kronos. You are compelled to do the same. No son should destroy his own father.
No, I have no father.
God after God will deny you, Kratos. They will protect Zeus. Zeus must live so that Olympus will prevail.
If all on Olympus will deny me my vengeance, then all on Olympus will die. I have lived in the shadow of the gods for long enough. The time of the gods has come to an end.
Remember, Kratos, you have the power to control time itself.